آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. My dear respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Greetings and peace and salutations upon all of you. Thank you for joining us today on our segment about COVID-19 and the discussion around how we can stop or bend the curve of COVID-19, how we can make an impact in our community. And we thought here at the Makkah Islamic Center that there would be nobody better than our Honorable MP for Scarborough-Gilwood, the Honorable John McKay. So today, we're going to have a great Q&A discussion in regards to many topics around COVID-19, and we want to hear from our local MPs who support us day in and day out, year after year, in our plan and project. We want to give them the spotlight to to go out to different atmospheres, different publics, different viewers, etc., to kind of get an answer, as they say, from the horse's mouth. So we're going to do that today. If you have questions, we will take them on our live on Facebook as well as on our YouTube. So if you want to ask questions, you have some concerns, etc., we can ask those questions to the Honorable John McKay, and we will go from there. So a little bit about them. So Mr. John McKay was first elected as a member of Parliament in 1997. He was re-elected in 2019 for his 8th term. So he's been in Scarborough-Gilwood as well as in the House of Commons for many, many years. So he's no stranger to talking to the public. He's no stranger to the community, etc. And he currently represents, obviously, the area of Scarborough-Gilwood. He's been helping the less fortunate, low-income families for many, many years, and we're going to touch base on some of the great things that we have done, he has done in the community, which we wanted to highlight today. He's been a vital help to the Sufi Council of Toronto. He's been a part of our walk for the birth of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him. As the Walk for the Beloved, we had a vigil for the Muslim killings in New Zealand, and he was a part of that as well, and he's always been supportive. So without further ado, on your screen is the Honorable John McKay for Scarborough-Gilwood. How are you today, sir? Hello, sir. How are you today?
I'm good. And yourself?
Very well, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
I'm still good. Yeah. Well, I said I was good, but it seemed that the screen went frozen there. So I'm good, and I hope you are as well. Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. And I know you have a very busy schedule, and I just want to thank you for taking some time out to kind of talk to our viewers as well. So it's greatly appreciated.
Happy to.
All right, sir. So we'll jump right into the question. Maybe you can start with just a general open statement, kind of what you're feeling about COVID-19 and in and around the community. What kind of feedback are you getting, etc.?
Well, this is a very, very serious issue. Easily the most serious issue I've ever been involved with in 20 plus years as a parliamentarian. I don't think we can actually underestimate the seriousness of it. It's an international crisis, it's a national crisis, but it's also a local crisis. And that's been playing itself out in various long care nursing homes and things of that nature, in particular at the Seven Oaks, where people have died, and the virus has really wreaked havoc there. I think, as a kind of a general proposition, we're actually dealing with two pandemics, and the pandemics are on different curves. The first pandemic is in the nursing homes, long care facilities, and there the virus is just really causing havoc and death and disease to a lot of very vulnerable people. And the second pandemic is in the general population. And there I think we've had some success, in part because people are obeying the injunctions of the Prime Minister and the Premier and all of the healthcare officials by maintaining social distance, by isolating themselves, by minimizing contact with others, and generally maintaining the social protocols. So the COVID protocols. So I think, and I'm crossing my fingers here, I think we might actually be a little closer to bending that curve, so that we can possibly contemplate some relief from this pandemic in the short term.
To kind of hear about all the deaths, especially in the Nielsen and Ellesmere area, etc. Just jumping right into a couple of the questions that were kind of asked to us for yourself. You talked about flattening the curve. I heard today even on the news that the death rate for the COVID-19 or even the cases are now doubling after 10 days. I mean, when it first started, we were doubling after 2 days. What precautions are we taking to kind of further flatten the curve?
Well, I think you just carry on carrying on. The economy is substantially shut down. I think citizens of goodwill are recognizing that there is some success by doing what we're doing. I know it sounds a little silly, but do all the hand washing and stuff like that. But I think people are buying into that message. And I think that the consequence is that Canadians, and more particularly people in Scarborough-Guildwood, are realizing that my good health is your good health, and your good health is my good health. And because we are recognizing that we are all in this together, that the virus spares no one, it therefore means that all of us have not only responsibility for ourselves, but a responsibility for each other. When I say it spares no one, you'll note that the Prime Minister's wife had to be isolated. You'll note that Prime Minister Boris Johnson had a very serious episode in hospital. So we are, as I say, it spares no one.
It's a great answer, and I think you're absolutely right. It doesn't spare anybody, and we are all in this together. So the government, I guess a lot of what we deal with, especially in the Scarborough-Guildwood area, is the less fortunate. There's people with low income, etc. So just for the public, so some people might not know, hopefully they do know, but if we can just reiterate what the government is doing for the less fortunate, for not only for monetary, I guess for the money that's happening and all the funds, etc., but more so for food and necessities, along with maybe international students.
The government has been all hands on deck, and I have to commend the senior politicians of the country. When they're asked to act like adults, they actually have acted like adults. And so the Prime Minister does not have many political allies among the premiers, but the premiers and the Prime Ministers and the Prime Minister are largely acting together to fight this pandemic. And the Prime Minister has unleashed a historic number of initiatives which have been directed to all kinds of varieties of people who find themselves in various difficulties. But one that is unique to Guildwood, which I think bears highlighting, is that prior to the COVID pandemic, Scarborough Guildwood was the number one constituency in the country to have reduced childhood poverty. Number one in the country. And over the 4 years of the government, primarily by virtue of the Canada Child Benefit, child poverty was reduced by 25%. And that is a significant accomplishment. The Prime Minister has chosen to use that vehicle as an opportunity to get more money into the hands of parents so that parents are not only getting the money for their children, but for the family in general, so that rent can be paid and various other costs paid. That, along with the relief under the Canada Relief Emergency Benefit, I think has been historically significant. You rightly indicate that Scarborough Guildwood is a community that has quite a number of poor people. I think that the Prime Minister's initiatives have really started to cut in and put money in people's bank accounts when they need it the most.
Sir, I know you have a lot of accomplishments, especially in this area. I just wanted to touch, kind of based on, you touched briefly about the child care benefits. Can we just highlight maybe the payments, the child support, the average payment? If you don't have it, I have it in front of me, but I just kind of wanted you to kind of showcase, especially to our viewers, that how much you have helped Scarborough Guildwood.
Well, I think the last year's figures were $96 million per year. That means about $8 million into the riding on a monthly basis. I don't know what the average is, but I think it's, if you've got it in front of you, I think it's about $700 per family. And that spreads right across a significant economic spectrum of the riding. But I'll leave you to correct my figures if I'm not 100%.
Spot there, but you know what? You were bang on. $780 per family. I think that's phenomenal, and you deserve a huge, not even a round of applause, but a pat on the back for your accomplishments. That's amazing.
Well, thank you.
I'll move on to the the next question. The federal government, I know you're in a riding, etc., and I understand that. Just for the viewers, if we can highlight kind of what the federal government is doing for those who have lost their jobs because of this pandemic.
Well, the first and most significant initiative, I think, is the relief benefit, CREB, and that's $2,000 into the hands of people who have recently lost their jobs and have, prior to that period of time, prior to this loss because of the COVID pandemic, earned at least $5,000. And that has been just, here's the money in your hands, pay the rent, pay the mortgage, whatever, so that you can keep afloat. And that has been massively taken up by Canadians, and I am anticipating by people in Scarborough Guildwood. And the Prime Minister actually announced today some relief, not relief, but some changes to that program. And the issue has been that we've been running these programs out very quickly. Like, most of these programs will be 2 years in public policy analysis, and we've run this out in 2 weeks. And the Prime Minister be commended. So right now, the initiative, once the, if you will, the initial money is out, then the initiative is to fill in the gaps. And I'll just share with your viewers that an hour ago I was on a caucus call with the Prime Minister, and while I can't disclose what he said, I can with some confidence disclose that there will be a few changes to the more difficult and egregious aspects of rolling out a program in 2 weeks as opposed to 2 years. So all of which is to say there are changes coming, and we will be trying to patch some of those holes.
Awesome. Honestly, I would have to say, not because we are Canadians and we live here, but Mr. Justin Trudeau is doing a phenomenal job with daily updates, etc. And that's why we felt as if, you know, we see him, we see Mr. Ford, etc. We wanted to kind of get our local MPs, because for us, you are our Justin Trudeau and our premier, because we don't see them. We see you in the streets, kind of in the trenches, on the front line. So moving on, one of the questions that just popped up from our social media was just a rough estimate. I know it's not written in stone, but in your opinion, when do you estimate the economy will start to get, I guess, normal again?
If I knew the answer to that question, I would be patenting the answer. What is driving the answer to that very legitimate inquiry is the curve that we talked about at the top of the show. So if, as I say, you split the pandemic into two curves, if you will, the nursing home curve and the general population curve, and look at the general population curve, the flattening of the cases will, in large measure, determine the reopening of the economy. So if we see significant progress by, say, this time next week, then people can reasonably anticipate that elements of the economy will be, if you will, released into normalcy. If, however, we don't see that progress, then it will be delayed. And the other aspect is the science is not clear about recurrence. People who are asymptomatic now, will they be asymptomatic in May or June, having been exposed to the virus? So the science is not clear on this.
Awesome.
But a great question.
I mean, I guess that's the hottest question out there right now. When are we going to get back to normal, right? So I just thought it would be fit, and one of our viewers were asking that question in your own opinion, and you answered that perfectly. And I just kind of want to turn it to more of the religious side. So whether it's our churches, Easter was a different Easter than it's ever been. Passover is becoming a different Passover, whether there's a Hindu festival, etc. I guess the people of religion, a mosque, synagogue, a temple, or a church, what do you think is a reasonable, do you think this is, I guess, easy for the mosques and synagogues and churches, etc., and the laws that were set out for, keeping it to 5 people or no more than 10 people, etc. Do you think it's fair, knowing that we actually get together, whether it be a Sunday, a Friday, a Saturday, etc.?
Difficult question. Difficult question. And my first comment is that the people of Scarborough-Guildwood, in some considerable measure, govern their lives by the dictates of their particular faith, whether it's Christianity or Islam or Hinduism, and others for that matter. And that, if you will, sets out the rhythm of their lives and the basis for their belief system. I would say, however, that there is a commonality among us all, and that is that we do no harm. And since it is a broad and deep consensus that gathering in groups larger than 5 people will in fact be potentially harmful to all of us, whether we are members of a mosque or members of a church or etc. Um, I take the view that we will try not to do harm to our neighbor. We will continue to seek the face of God in however we do that, but we will also try to treat our neighbor as ourselves. And just as I would appreciate you not infecting me and my family, I'm assuming that you would appreciate me not infecting you or your family or exposing you to the virus. So I think that whether it's the first great tenet of anyone's religion or the second great tenet of anyone's religion, I think that to treat your neighbor as yourself is in fact the way in which we as religious people, we as people of faith, need to approach this.
I think that's a great answer because we get a lot of feedback and saying, we need to fight to get Friday prayers back, or we need to fight to get Sunday Mass back, and etc. And I think the message is quite clear, and I think you answered it perfectly. Like, if I do this, I'm potentially affecting more than just me and my family. I'm affecting you and yours. So I think that was phenomenal. One of the questions that came up on social media, sir, was in regard to renters. Are there going to be relief for renters in your knowledge, or is that still in the dark until further notice?
I won't say it's in the dark till further notice. That means it's kind of locked away and no one knows where it is. We have a double-edged problem here. We have the problem with the tenant who is unable to pay, and there's massive numbers of people who are unable to pay. And on the other side, we have landlords who have bills to pay. I know a lot of people don't have any sympathy with their landlord, but landlords have to pay mortgages, landlords have to pay taxes, landlords have to turn on the heat, landlords have to pay for maintenance, etc. So it is a double-edged sword. It has been very difficult to address the issue other than by putting money into people's hands. So in some respects, the Canada Relief, the CREB, is the first line of answer to that difficult, very, very difficult question.
Right. I guess there is something, I guess, in the works for those people, whether it's a balance between landlord and tenant, etc. But it's definitely it's a question that I don't think anyone can really give an answer to. But one of our viewers was asking that question. We'll move on to the next in regards to social distancing, and your message kind of to the public. Because I'll tell you, I work in retail, and my biggest thing that we see, essential business, by the way, so we're open. But what I
clarified that point.
what I see the most is, I guess, people are not taking this social distancing very serious. So kind of in your words, if you can kind of give them the message from not only from the Parliament side of things, but more so from you as a member of Scarborough-Guildwood, a resident of Scarborough-Guildwood.
Yeah, I realize that for a lot of folks, this kind of just goes against the nature of who they are and how they operate their lives and have operated their lives really since they were children. And, it's a closeness that we all love and cherish. Unfortunately, by not observing social distance, we do two things. We put the person with whom we are interacting at risk. We put ourselves at risk, and we effectively postpone a return to the normalcy of any economy. So you're in retail, I'm assuming you're not wanting to continue to operate the way you are operating with all of the social distancing. I imagine that your sales and whatever business that you are in is are down, and that your costs are still the same. Um, and I'm assuming that you don't want this to continue 1 minute more than it absolutely has to. So when people don't observe the COVID protocols, they effectively not only jeopardize their health and their friends' health, but they also jeopardize the return of the economy to some sense of normalcy, whatever normal means anymore.
And I think it's just people are not taking it seriously. We see it all the time, um, and I think if coming from yourself, and I think maybe another question, maybe if it's a little bit more strict in terms from the police side, because you hear about it, they're issuing tickets, etc., for those who are not social distancing. What can we say about that? Like, are we doing enough to those people that are potentially putting others at risk?
It's a good question. You'd wish that people would do the right thing. You would wish that you didn't have to involve the police. You'd wish that you didn't have to issue tickets. But you have to be living under some rock to not understand that these kinds of social gatherings that fly in the face of every bit of advice that all of your leadership has been giving out, whether it's your political leadership or your religious leadership or your scientific leadership or your medical leadership. If you're still so blindingly stupid as to be unwilling to adhere to those protocols, then I got no sympathy for you. And if the police fine you, too bad for you.
That's good. I mean, that's good to hear from someone with your authority, because again, people are not taking it seriously. Sir, just a couple more questions. We got 2 more questions from social media, and then I got one for myself for you. Might be a little tough for you, but I'm sure you can
Okay.
shed some great light on it. In
But,
terms of,
I am a politician, and if I don't answer a question, I will.
see, this is why we love you, because you're able to be one of us, right? And put on many hats. But in terms of the nonprofit organizations, is there anything special coming for those who are potentially nonprofit, searching charitable status, etc., or vice versa? That wasn't the tough question, though, by the way.
Actually, we had some adjustments on that last week, particularly with employees, because in the original iteration of the Canada Emergency Relief Benefit, not-for-profits were not included. Now they are included and will be treated in the same manner as a for-profit company. Revenues are down massively. I don't know of any program to replace those revenues, and I'm not even sure how you would go about replacing them in the first place. So I take the view that you should, it's as important to be working at for want of a better term, a soup kitchen, and for which you might be receiving a modest salary, as it is to be working in curtains and ladling out food. So, insofar as we can treat not-for-profits in the same fashion that we treat for-profit corporations, the government has moved towards that somewhat last week. There's probably more that could be done.
Awesome. And then another one that came off of social media was the $2,000 that the individuals are getting. Do they have to pay that back?
It's taxable benefit. So at the end of this time next year, when people are filing their income tax, that'll be a declarable benefit. It will go in with whatever other income that the person has earned over the last 12 months and be taxed accordingly. So, for some people, that will mean that there won't be any tax at all because that's all the money they got for the entire year. For some people, they will have returned to their work and be earning a salary of 60 or 80 or $90,000, who knows. And that money they received on the benefit will be put into their income tax return and taxed accordingly.
Awesome. So those are all the questions except for my last one. So I'm gonna shoot my question out.
Oh, I should duck now.
Save the best for last, I guess, sir. No, I'm just kidding. I just kind of just want your opinion on future goals. How are we going to rebound the province? Or how are we going to rebound the country? How are we going to rebound Scarborough-Guildwood?
I don't think the economy that Scarborough-Guildwood has a unique economy, so it's kind of hard to talk about Scarborough-Guildwood as a standalone island economy. It's all integrated with Toronto and the GTA generally. So as the GTA goes, so also goes Scarborough-Guildwood. Interestingly, I was on a caucus call earlier this week talking about the staging of the return of the economy, and I know the government is doing some pretty deep thinking about this because you're really kind of running a parallel track. You're running the health track and you're running the economic track. And the health largely dictates the pace at which you can open the economy up. So if the curve of the health track is bending flat or down, then you can pick up the pace of the reintegration. So the thought that I've had, and I've been expressing it to the government, is that if an industry or if a sector wishes to start up again, then it should be asked to demonstrate how it will maintain the COVID protocols, not contribute to a reoccurrence of the virus, and will maintain the discipline that's necessary to contribute to the return to some level of normalcy. I think that if you do that, then there is some chance that we will return to normal sooner rather than later. So I'll pick a silly example because everybody would understand it. The golfing season is upon us. I dare say that not many of your viewers are golfers, but it seems to me that that particular industry could actually demonstrate social protocols and distancing by disciplining those who are playing golf. But that is a recreational pastime for a lot of people and is a significant industry. Now, I probably should pick other industries or other things such as, say, cleaners, clothing cleaners. Again, I appreciate that they're not essential to the functioning of society, but they are an important service to our community. So why is it why wouldn't we allow them to start to reopen if in fact they can demonstrate that they have adhered to all of the, will adhere to all of the social protocols or the COVID protocols. It seems to me that's your approach. And so we have been batting this around. A number of us are very concerned that the curve may bend down and we're caught a little flat-footed and open the economies more slowly than it should be opened.
I think it comes down to we got to be patient, and it's going to get better. We got to be positive and be there for one another. And I think you're answering these questions to the best of your knowledge, but it's making sense. So I hopefully the viewers are kind of picking up the message. As you were talking, a couple more questions came up. Now it's strictly up to you. I can ask you them, or if you want to conclude, we can finish off with your final words. It's completely up to you. I'll leave it in your hands.
No, I probably should. I should probably that I should conclude, but because there are probably a couple of real zingers there, and I'll get myself in trouble. But no, let's carry on. This is fun. I'm enjoying myself.
All right, likewise. So we'll call this the last two questions, and then we'll have your final kind of message and remarks, and then we'll conclude. So the first question is: will there be an extension on the CERB after September?
A little early to say, but I don't see us getting weaned off that very quickly. So I would say more likely there will be an extension, but it will be also a fairly short extension. You're not out of the woods in, say, 6 months. I just don't think there's enough money in the government treasury to carry this thing on.
Right. And I guess last question. Can students who have arrived in 2020 apply for the CERB?
I don't have an answer to that immediately, and I'm happy if somebody wanted to phone to my office and I could respond to that more thoughtfully. My sense of it is no, but I don't have a good reason for that, because you have to have $5,000 that you earned prior to being able to apply. It's designed for people who have lost their jobs, not for people who arrive from another country.
Right. Sorry, I keep saying it's the last one, but we got this last one, and I promise this is the last one. Immigration to Canada. So,
we went about 2 questions.
You may be able to answer. You may be able to shed some light on this question. But the immigration to Canada, is that process slowing down because of COVID-19? Are we still allowing people to come, for example, as a, not necessarily visit, but PR or students, etc.?
Well, it's an interesting question, and actually my staff would be better positioned to answer this than myself. But I have never in 20 years had a more responsive government to all the issues. So when we are making inquiries on the immigration status of various constituents, we are getting answers back very quickly. As far as I know, we have not backed off the goal of, I think it's around 350,000 people coming to Canada. As far as I know, it's still a fully functioning approach. I do appreciate that that some resources are being shifted to other departments, but at this point, I'm unaware of any slowdown on that processing. I could be corrected, and if the person who asked the question is really keen, I'd invite them to phone my office, and I'll get you a much more specific.
Awesome. If for the viewers, especially because you mentioned it now twice, is there a contact detail in regards to email or phone number to the office that you can share with the viewers?
Yeah, the office number is 416-283-1226, and the email is john.mckay.c1. I think it's at parle.gc.ca.
Perfect. So we'll share that on our.
I never email my own office, so I don't remember my own email.
You know what? Somebody asked me today, can I get your number? One of the vendors that we deal with, and I had to look it up, so I don't blame you on that one.
Just check.
All right, great. So what we'll do now, sir, I know we take a lot of your time. You know what? I appreciate your time, and I know our viewers do especially. It was very informative. If we can conclude with your final words, your final message to the public, that'd be great. And then we'll cut you loose, and we'll see you kind of in the trenches.
Well, thank you. First of all, Ramadan Mubarak. This is a significant time in the religious calendar of the Muslim faith, and I would say possibly an unprecedented time. It is very important that people of faith gather in a way that is not together. You may be self-isolating, but you are not alone. That is the remarkable point of faith, that it is shared among a specific group of people who believe as they believe. And I think in this particular instance, the faith of Islam brings comfort and brings some joy when one is self-isolating, but one is clearly not alone. So I just want to end with the notion that we will get through this. It will require all of our resources, and in fact, I just mentioned this. We are inviting all of the faith leaders to give us a 25-second message where they will encourage COVID-related protocols among their parishioners, because the faith communities are critical in making sure that we get beyond this virus. So with that, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. And I quite enjoyed answering the 10 last questions.
You know what, sir? It's a pleasure. You've always been a very great support for us. And what we would like to say is, we hope and pray that you continue to be safe along with your family and your loved ones. And we're going to put our hand out. We can do this because, we're not on face-to-face, so there's no worry about spreading anything. But what I will say is, we are here for you, for anything that you may need, any help, volunteer work, etc. We're going to be here for you because you have done so much for us. So from the bottom of our hearts and our team, we want to thank you, and we want you to stay safe and continue to support Scarborough-Gilwood, and we will continue to support you.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you very much. So that was our Honorable John McKay, Member of Parliament for Scarborough-Gilwood. Such a great individual, someone who can really, I guess, stick with the community. He does a lot of work for the less fortunate. You heard the numbers, over $780, and that's the highest in the GTA. Like, just great individual, able to talk to them. You know, they took their time out of their busy schedule to come on our show. So continue to support them. You have their number and the email. We will post it as well, so you can reach out if you have further questions. We can answer them at that point. So great program, viewers. So this is not the end of this week. So I'll say a final message, and then I will kind of give you what is coming up for the rest of the week. We are all busy. We are all on edge. We are all worried. Again, if you take it from an Islamic standpoint, let's just make sure that we respect the law in the world or city, country, etc. that we live in the land that we live in. So please respect what the government is doing. Please respect social distancing. Please, minimize your travel. Instead of sending out the whole family to go to grocery shopping, take one person or two, etc. Let's do our precautions, because the country is doing what it can. The government is doing what they can to help support. And let's raise our voices to these great MPs for more support. So continue to trust in the process, and we will get better, inshallah. So, great program. We're going to have another one of these at the end of this week, inshallah. So let's make sure that we tune in. So note, tomorrow night, inshallah, Hazrat Pir Tariqat Rahbar Shariat, one of our ustaz and a great alim ad-din from Khankai Kichocha Sharif, Hazrat Pir Sayyid Muhammad Nurani Ashrafi Al-Jilani Kichochvi, inshallah, will be blessing us with their presence from their home in Lucknow to discuss COVID-19, spirituality, etc. So please tune in to that, 8:15 p.m. sharp. We're going to start because it will be Fajr Salah time in India. So that's tomorrow. Friday, inshallah, we have another member of parliament, Salma Zahid. And that we're going to do a little guftagu in kind of English and Urdu, inshallah, for our Urdu listeners. It's kind of around the same COVID-19, but we'll get some more questions and send it her way and ask her about these issues. And inshallah, for our Urdu listeners, it's going to be very informative. On Friday, Jummah, so 2 p.m., inshallah, Janab Amir Qadri Saab is going to be discussing a very intense topic in regards to Passover. So please tune in for that, 2 p.m. And Salma Zahid will be with us at 8:15 p.m. on Friday. Inshallah, on Saturday, our official Istiqbal Ramadan program will start at 7 p.m. Note the time, 7 p.m. Inshallah, Naat Khans will be Hafiz Yahya, Mohsin Patel, Zuhair Raza Attari, and Adil Iqbal Saab. And we'll do Tilawat with Bilal, Hafiz Bilal Natalia, inshallah. And we have our guest speaker from Bradford, UK, the elder brother of Imam Asim Hussain, Imam Adil. So they will be talking about Ramadan, how to prepare for Ramadan, etc. And then Sunday, we have our doctor, dear brother Mufakham Shah, who will be coming on live discussing healthy Ramadan, as we've been doing this for the last 3 years. So he will discuss this, and from a doctor's perspective about COVID-19. So if you have questions for Dr. Mufakham Shah in regards to healthy Ramadan, how do you make Ramadan healthy for you in regards to sunnah foods, etc. Or if you have questions in regards to your own personal health, or if you have questions in regards to COVID-19, we will discuss all of that with Dr. Mufakham Shah on Sunday. So Samain, very packed schedule it started yesterday. For the entire week, we have a program lined up for each day of this week. Inshallah, please tune in, and please tune in to the video that is coming up right after we are done here. Inshallah, we will see you tomorrow, same time, 8:15 p.m. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear respected brothers and sisters, I come to you from the Makkah Islamic Center. I come to you with an appeal to help the Makkah Islamic Center continue running and operating. We are in testing times right now with the COVID-19 coronavirus, and we can all understand with job layoffs, sickness, and just the day-to-day worries of what is going to happen and the worry of the unknown. My dear respected brothers and sisters, we are alongside you in this struggle and in this battle. The Sufi Council of Toronto for the last 3 years has been doing programs, whether in the university sector, quarterly food and clothing drives, working with the homeless, working with troubled youth, and alhamdulillah, we have done this with our own blood, sweat, tears, and money. On March 1st, 2020, we took over Makkah Islamic Center. All of its costs, with the blessed donors and the management team, we have gotten this far. And now we need your help. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their blessed hadith, narrated by Hazrat Umar Khattab radiallahu an, states that those who help build a masjid with their own wealth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will build a masjid for them in Jannah. This is the ultimate goal, a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us in the akhirah. My dear respected brothers and sisters, we need your help to keep the Makkah Islamic Center running. Our monthly expenses are about $3,500. We need your help in these times so we can build a future for our youth here at the Makkah Islamic Center, where we can teach your kids where the Quran, the Hadith, we can teach them to be good Muslims, good Canadian Muslims, examples of Muslims, so that you, the parents, can be happy. Help us today. On your screen, you have our institution, branch, and account number, as well as an e-transfer, SufiCouncilToronto@gmail.com. You can also donate via credit card at donate.suficouncil.com. You can call any of the brothers, myself, Amir Qadri, Hafiz Yahya Natalia, Hafiz Bilal Natalia, Mohsin Patel Ashrafi. They're all channels who can come collect money, so you don't have to come out your house. You can donate online with what is on your screen right now. My dear respected brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ states that give with your right hand so your left hand doesn't know what you gave. How many of you, for the sake of Allah, are going to help the Makkah Islamic Center so we can become together a great Islamic center for the future? The time is now, my brothers and sisters. Ramadan is around the corner. Your hearts should be open. Reach into your pocket, reach into your purse, your wallet, and help the Makkah Islamic Center stay alive with the will of Allah and your generosity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give shifa to all those who are sick. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease our pain, ease our hardships, ease the trial and tribulations that we are going through, especially leading up to the month of Ramadan. Inshallah, ameen. Jazakumullah khair. Wa akhiru dana wa alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.